This is Radar for Other Radar Tape Blog, coming to another edition of Movie Reviews Observations number 152. Jewish holiday this week. Been sick all week. Fever, only maybe one time when I checked it out of the few times. But, head pounding, sore throat, cough, sneezes, runny nose, congested, feel like you're choking, you're dying on your saliva, all that stuff, phlegm, and shivers, and all that stuff. So it's been a long week. So the first movie I watched was called Mid-Century. I watched it last Sunday. It was an hour and 40-something minutes. You're like, okay, not too long, not too short. The problem that I had was, even though you have like Stephen Lang in the movie and you got Bruce Dern for like 3 seconds, it's more about the main guy who, I don't know, Shane West, I know nothing about. Basically, they want you to believe that this famous architect killed people and those people inhabit the house and it's haunted by those people, but he's immortal and he takes forms of other people, blah, 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 blah. And you're just like, okay, so we got the new one where you got the wife who's a doctor and he's at home because he's like an author and illustrator, whatever it is. And he's dead and she doesn't know it. And the whole movie is like flashbacks of all the people that died. And then it's like, what's going on now? So it's confusing to know what time period you're in and who's alive and who's not alive. So it was just like, it was a waste of Stephen Lang's talent, in my opinion. Not a good movie. Then I watched the movie The Good Boss. No. And then I watched the movie, Little Vampire. And and you're watching this movie going, this can't be an American movie like DreamWorks, Disney, Pixar, Nickelodeon, whatever it is. It was a French movie. So you're like, okay, so it's based on like a children's book and it's French, so, they can get away with some stuff. And here's the thing. There was some really weird things, some really odd things, some really silly things, some stupid things. But, hey, it's a kid's movie. Kids find it funny. And I was enjoying myself. I was laughing. I was smiling. I was really enjoying myself. You go on this full-fledged adventure with these characters that they really took time to, animate and, give story to. And it was interesting. And you had, a skull captain, skeleton captain. You're like, well, of a pirate ship. And you're like, maybe he's a bad guy. No, he's a good guy, and then there's an actual bad guy, and all these, creatures and stuff are actually the good guys, but they're creatures and no one's gonna understand. And it was this little vampire. He's been a vampire since he was a kid, and he just wants to hang out with people his own age, not other ghouls or other creatures and stuff. And the whole movie's about him trying to be friends with somebody, but then realizing why his parents are protective and why this is happening and why his parents are doing this. And I was like, this is a really good movie. I don't know why people are not talking about this movie, and it's barely an hour and 20 minutes. It was great. I would recommend you watch Little Vampire. It was so fun. Then I watched Firestarter, and I'm like, oh, that's Zac Efron. And then Kurtwood Smith was in the movie for 2 seconds, but I thought he deserved to have the with or the and credit because he's famous. I don't know the Michael Grigalialis and Gloria Rubin that well, but they supposedly were main characters in this movie. I don't know. It didn't really do much for me. The whole movie is interesting because they said it's based on a Stephen King book. And I was like, I don't know why the library calls it a horror film. It should definitely be a science fiction, fantasy, adventure movie. Because the movie is about, sort of like X-Men in a way. Where these people have powers and they were tested on. And they escape and they have a kid. But everyone's, that government facility is after them. Other people that have powers are after them. And they're on the run. And their daughter is a full-fledged, one where she's born with powers and stuff. The whole movie's about them trying to raise a daughter who has powers, and that's why it's called Firestarter, because she got fire power, and Zac Efron's her father. And 90-something minute, film. I thought it was pretty good. I didn't really read all the critic reviews, but it didn't get a high rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't get it. I felt like this was a pretty good, science fiction movie based on a Stephen King novel, and Zac Efron did a pretty good job, so I'd say that's a good, solid movie there. Then I watched Buzz Lightyear, Pixar's Disney's Buzz Lightyear. And one thing that they get you on is they want you to believe that this movie is what based the character for the actual Buzz Lightyear toy that Andy grows up with. And I'm like, a lot of this stuff is super futuristic science fiction that I don't think pre-90s that they were coming up with or had all these ideas. And I know even though it's a cartoon, I'm like, it's a little bit. Old lady, whatever this other dude, I think Tahiti Wadi voiced him, a robotic cat, a granddaughter of someone he knows trying to save the day, is interesting. The whole point of the movie is he loves being the space ranger, and that's his whole life. And they crash and all this other stuff. They're on this planet, and he kind of blames it on himself. I know I'm kind of giving away, but it's something that's the only thing I don't understand is the kids movie. So they kind of show things oh, His commander is a black woman. Whoop-de-doo, that's fine by me. Oh, okay, I guess she got married to a woman. Oh, I guess she's pregnant. They completely skipped the whole, how does two women have children? They just completely skipped over that, especially when they're on like a deserted planet. Like, how do they have like willing like sperm around? It has to have been someone's, whatever. But outside of like that, everything about this movie was good. It was like a true adventure movie. You're going on adventure. There's science fiction. There's action. There's fighting scenes. There's humor in there. I'm just not a huge fan of Keke Palmer. Not a fan of her. I'd rather they got like actual like voice actors you've heard of, or bring back the original people from the movie, even though this is not the original story. It's only like Buzz and his villain and stuff. But Chris Evans at least did a good enough job. But again, pretty good movie. Really liked it. Then I watched The Good Boss, which was like, again, a Spanish movie with English subtitles with Javier Bardem. Again, I don't know the point of making this movie. It's not that I don't understand foreign films. I pretty much understood the whole movie in the subtitle. And it's, again, 2 hours. Why does it be 2 hours? It's basically he's running this scale company, and they're trying to win an award and pass inspection, all this other stuff. He's up there in, finances, and they lay people off, and then there's people that are upset they're being laid off. He then has, a marital relation. He's married, but then he commits adultery and has it with an intern, and she tries to blackmail him and blah, blah, blah. And it's like a typical, well, I'm a wealthy, powerful man, and I fire people, and they don't like it, and I can do whatever I want, and I sleep around with women even though I'm married. I'm like, it's just like, yeah, this is definitely not a certified fresh in my opinion. It just was like, what's the point? Javier Bardem's a good actor, but at this point, it's just, he doesn't have to be in every, foreign Spanish movie. Then I watched Documentary Cow, because I was just trying to get, as many movies watched. And it's a sad 90-minute, trek, where it feels like it's longer than 90 minutes. It's not Sarah McLachlan sad music, but it's just like somber music in the background of showing you a life of a cow, all the ups and downs, giving birth, milking, then it dying in the end. Sorry, I'm like, it was very boring because it was just like dull. It was just like only thing about the cow, no talking with anybody else, just all about the cow. There were some other people in the movie, like, for the most part, but it was like, okay, cool. With a documentary about the life of a cow. Woo. So, yeah. Unless you're really interested, don't waste your time watching Cow. Unless you're, like, obsessed with Javier Bardem, don't watch this movie. Unless you're, like, obsessed with Stephen Lang, don't watch Mid-Century. I would say the interesting thing is the two best movies I watched this week were children's movies. Little Vampire, which I really enjoyed, and Lightyear, which I watched for nostalgic purposes and really enjoyed being a kid of the 90s and loving Toy Story. And the Zac Efron, Firestarter movie was actually pretty good. I just wouldn't call it a horror film. Take the game to listen to another show movie reviews and observations number 152. For On the Radar Table Block, I'm Radar. See you guys next time.